Hey, welcome. It's Captain Matt, Boater Secret Weapon. I want to thank you for joining us for this Sunday night live. We're getting ready to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll start about 8:30, but I wanted to welcome you. If you've never been to a live, here's what you can expect. Just go ahead and chat in your comment section, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on YouTube. Just ask your question, leave your comment there, and then as we go through the time, I just kind of scroll down all the comments and I try to answer them. Now, if it's something that I need to ask you a question, I may ask you a question and just put it in the chat again, and I'll come back and I'll get that information so I can give you a more personalized response, something that's going to really add value for you. This is just something I do. One, it's great fun. I really enjoy it. It's helpful for the community. Just sharing my knowledge. Now, one thing that you need to know, I don't know everything about boats. I know a lot about boats. I've been a boater since I was 5. I've sold boats. It's something that is a big part of my life. With that said, I don't know everything. Matter of fact, sailboats, have zero experience with sailboats. Bass boats, very little experience there. Bow riders, deck boats, center consoles, jet boats, twin engines, stern drives, outboards, inboards, all of that I have experience with. And if I have an answer, I'll give you my best answer. If I don't have an answer, I'll try to give you a resource that will be valuable for you. If I have an opinion, I'll try to give you that opinion, but let you know this is what I think, not what I absolutely know. So I look forward to it. Here's a little video intro that a subscriber made for me. Thanks, Bo. And we'll see you on the live when it kicks off here in just a moment. Welcome everybody to the Sunday night live. I am Captain Matt, your host, and looks like we got a good crew joining us here. We've got Ray, how you doing? Kings of the City, how are you? Jason, 211, good to have you. Tube Tot, welcome, that's a new one. Welcome to the community. Mike, good to have you back. We'll get to the questions here in a second. Brock, welcome. Rob, good to have you. And Dan, welcome back as well. A lot of returning faces. We'll start with Bob. Welcome, Bob. Another new name to the channel here. Is it worth putting a used 90 Merc outboard I've taken good care of on a new pontoon purchase, or should I just buy a pontoon with the engine and sell the outboard separately? I don't know. It kind of depends on your personal preference. If it's what boat are you putting it on? So, what year is that 90 Merc? So there's some questions that I would have. How old is it? What's it going to take to rig that on a pontoon? And is it going to do a good job on the pontoon? Depending on the age, you'll find that, for the last 15 years or so, that like on a Merc, they're putting the command thrust, or they used to be called, I think, the Bigfoot, but it's got a bigger, little bit more stout gear casing that's meant to push those tubes through the water. So I want to say it was probably 2010ish that they came out with the command thrust, and that was specifically designed for pontoons. And just to get the most out of the motor, and pushing. Now they ran it up to, I think they put it up to a 115, is they ran that command thrust lower end. Now, so what size pontoon are you going to put it on? And would you get a 90 anyway? So if you were going to put a 90, would you do that anyway? you know, I can definitely see if the 90 horse is in good shape. It's running good. It's going to be able to push that pontoon along at the speeds that you're looking for. Just realize you've got, you know, depending on what you're pulling it off of, you might have to buy additional cables if the run is a little bit longer, steering, shift cables, all that. But not a crazy hard job, especially if it's not skinned underneath. You can run them down through the helm. There's usually a hole cut under the helm. Just make sure you dress them back real nice on whatever you know, whatever type of brackets they have, so that they're dressed back real nice all the way to the transom. Whatever the access point is to get them up through there. Again, there's probably one cut already because they've got to be there, and you'll be good to go. So there's labor involved with that. There may be some additional stuff. You may have to put a new, you know, depending on what kind of controls that you had, where it's coming from. If you got a binnacle mount, the top mount, it should be pretty easy. The mounting kind of the side mount on pontoons aren't super common. They're usually some type of binnacle that's that just sits on top. And but yeah, I don't think it's crazy to do it. On the flip side is, you know, what does it look like, and can you find let's see, okay, so you're saying new pontoon purchase. The next thing would be, will somebody sell you a pontoon with no motor? Some dealers order them that way, and it's not a big deal. Other dealers will always order them with a motor packaged, rigged at the factory, so they don't have to touch them other than getting them prepped. And they're going to be less likely to want to order you just a boat without a motor. That's dealer by dealer specific, depending on how they choose to do business. Some, not a big deal. Others, they don't want the hassle of it, because if you have issues, you're gonna come back to the dealer with issues, and you know, there's 50% of the boat that they're not involved in with the rigging of the motor, unless you pay them to do it. So answer some of those questions, and I'll come back to you, Bob. But those are my thoughts there. Tube Tot 104. I've been looking the last few years for a 23 foot center console. My budget's 30 to 50. Do you think it's best if I wait another year, see the buyer's market does? I've been looking, feel like there's more value, but sometimes I wonder if I should look used to avoid risk of buying something with problems. If I should look used to avoid. So there's a couple things in that right there. So if you're looking 20 to 23, you'll be hard pressed to find a new boat under 50. We'll go to boattrader.com. Tube Tot, I'm not sure where you are. I'm just gonna make a guess. If you want to put a zip code in, you can do that. But we're gonna do center console, maybe. Center console powerboat. We are gonna search. Where was I searching? I was searching North Dakota. That's not a good zip code for what we're looking for. 20 to 23. I'm going to use a South Carolina zip code. We'll go 100 miles. We'll go 200 miles to see what we got. Length 20 to 23. And then we're going to see, type, power, center console. So in that price range, what did you say, 30 to 50, 21, okay, 21 Savannah, which is a value, Carolina Skiff 40. All right, so that's, you can get there. 22 Bayliner 50. All right, so yeah, that's not bad. So I guess the question is should I buy now or should I wait? So there's a couple of things. Is one, Tube Tot, I think right now, I think in the next 2-3 months, March, April, early May, the further north you are, the further into May you go, the further south you are, the earlier in May or even April, I think this would be true, that this is going to be the best time to get the best deal is over the next couple of months. And here's why. Because here's what's going to happen is the seasonality, like we went through the boat show and a bunch of boats sold, right? Most of them were 2023s. Now there's kind of a lull. You have a lull until about April 15th, tax time. People get their tax refunds, or business owners, salespeople, 1099 salespeople, they know what their liability is, and now they'll make some financial decisions. So right now is the least demand that you're going to see until we hit the summer. Once you hit May, mid-May, Memorial Day, then seasonal demand goes up, right? So seasonal demand is going to come up. And here's what I predict will happen, that manufacturers overproduce the 2023 models. They slowed down 2024, but they almost never slow down enough. In 2025, they're really going to pull back production because they're going to look at the market and they're going to see a smattering of 23s. And this is about, July is when they're going to evaluate the market. Maybe they're doing it all the time, but in July, they're making the decision of how are we going to run our lines for 2025 model year. And what I think you're going to see is manufacturers say, we're really going to scale back our production because we see a higher level of inventory that we're comfortable, and our dealers aren't going to be willing to buy the boats. They don't have the credit line. They don't have the appetite for it. And so their production is going to go even lower than what it was in 2023. And that's going to allow this excess inventory to sell through the market. And that way, so this time next, or we'll say October of next year, you're still going to have some 2024s on the market because most of the boats being sold right now are 23s. 2024s are going to be on the market, but there's going to be fewer 2024s than there were 23s on the market. There's going to be even fewer 25s produced because the manufacturers are going to scale down on their production levels. And what that's going to do is that means that they don't have to drop the price. They don't have to put as many rebates out there because there's not going to be as much aged inventory in the marketplace overall, okay? Right now, in certain regions, in certain product type categories, value, especially value, some really high end. I was at Bass Pro Shop and they had probably 60 boats on display. My gut tells me, I kind of looked at HIN numbers to see which were 23. My gut tells me about 50% of them were 23s, which is more than they're comfortable with right now. And they had price discounts. So if you're looking new, I think you can really negotiate a good deal on something brand new with warranty. Now, I had a comment on the channel the other day that said, hey, I predicted this a year ago. You don't know what you're talking about. The market's crashing. There's a $75,000 rebate on this cobia. Like, yeah, but there's only 3 of those cobia. It was a 25-foot. No, it's a 30-foot cobia. So like a $300,000 boat with a $75,000 rebate, that's significant, but there are only 3 of those in the marketplace, right? When you look, there's not many of them. So that's not the market crashing. That's them wanting to move those out so they can produce some 31s for 2025 and get fresh inventory to the dealers. So I think that's what's going to happen. On the used side, used boats are getting pushed down. But it's not crashing. Like there's better value, but it's not crashing considering the rate at which it went up. So if you wait to buy something next year, my gut tells me you're going to pay about the same as you would pay this year. If you got found a 23, you would pay the same that you would pay for a 24, maybe even a little bit more, because in theory the inventory level should be a little lower. But if you bought in December, you got more negotiating power. You always have more negotiating power in the winter, and I kind of think that's where it's at now. Or should I look used to avoid buying something with problems? I think like we'll call it the pandemic issues, that were, those boats are 21s and 22s that would have had kind of manufacturing issues because of the pandemic, with supply chain, with personnel issues. So I think, and most of those were fixable issues that have been, those kinks have been worked out, and the owners had them taken care of as warranty issues that the dealer fixed. And if it was a manufacturer issue, I think it'll be blatantly obvious that you'll want to stay away from that boat. Assuming you've got the Boat Buyer's Toolkit, assuming you've watched the How to Inspect Boats video, maybe even you have the Boat Buyer's Academy. But Tube Taught, that's kind of my take. And I'll be putting together another market update that will come out in about mid-month in March. I want some of the industry numbers to come out, but that's kind of my take on where pricing is going to go, where inventory levels are going to go, and once you hit about Memorial Day, the discounts are still there to move the 2023s, but there's a lot more traffic. And it's a mental thing for a dealership owner that's sitting there with the 23 on the books that's costing them interest and curtailment payments, and there's nobody interested in that boat. That's a different mindset than that same boat. Even 3 months later, the interest and curtailment payments are still driving them nuts, but at least there's traffic coming into the dealership that are looking at boats, that came in and are looking at building a 2024. They're coming in looking at a used boat that's in inventory, and they can say, listen, we've got this 23, we've got manufacturer rebates, we are dropping the price as much as we can here. The dealer has more opportunity to sell that boat, and so they're less, let's just cut it to the core like they are for the next 2 months or so. Again, depending on where you are in the temperature, it was 70 degrees out today here in the Carolinas, so if that weather stays, that's going to happen sooner. The seasonal demand is going to go up, and the dealer's mentality is going to change slightly. Don't get me wrong; they still want to sell those boats. They're still going to discount them, but it's not the same as being able to sell a boat in December when there's nobody around, and that cash is super valuable. So, all right, there's that. Happy daylight savings time. Totally forgot about late for match this morning. Really excited for the season. Yeah, my daughters were saying, how are we supposed to go to sleep when it's going to be light out now? I was like, well, just be a lot of static. Uh-oh. I apologize about that. Let me, other than a restart, let me do this. Let me close down my Outlook. That can sometimes take some resources. I should have restarted today. Let me see if I got something running that I can cut out. CPU usage, Chrome task desk. All right, you guys can tell me if this is better or worse. Let's see if we got anything that's taken. All right. All right, so let me know if I have to. I can restart. Sound like cavitation. All right, you guys tell me if it's sounding better. Still the same. All right, let's see here. Let me do the audio. I'm going to switch my audio and see if that test. All right, so I changed my mic. Tell me if that sounds better. Talking in a snorkel. I just changed microphones, so tell me if that way better. Okay, cool. All right. So this is my standard mic. I wonder why the other ones having issues. So, all right. Let's see. Audio. Bill, welcome, Bill. Considering a Regal 26XO, 28 Express, South Florida. Don't need to worry about winterizing. Be on the lift. Minimize the negative of an IO. It certainly helps if you can flush it. Depends how often you're going to use it as well. And if it's a new one, Volvo has the heat exchange, so you can actually drain it and flush it pretty easily. And if you're on a lift, I would say, yeah, it's a much better situation that that you can get up on a lift and do the maintenance that you want, flushing it and just spraying it down as well, and you're not leaving it in the water. Bill, with that said, is let's see here. I didn't see him on. If Jerry is here, Jerry has a 28 Express up in Chesapeake with the Volvo. It's a 2019 or 20, and he loves it. He let's see. I don't see him on here. No, he would have definitely been in the comments. But he's got one up there. He's really happy with it. He really likes it. And it is, I always prefer the outboard, but for that setup, yeah, it's and Volvo, especially with their closed cooling system being standard, that is the best alternative that you can have when you're running in salt. Just be diligent about flushing it and about let's see here. Volvo. I'm trying to think what this looks like. My father-in-law has a 2018 Cobalt with that engine with the closed cooled, and I'm trying to think where that flush port is. It's pretty easy. Yeah, there we go. It's pretty easy if you can see that on the winterization. There's that blue plunger that's going to drain the heat exchanger, but there's also an easy attached flush port in there that you can just run the garden hose on, and it'll flush all that out. And it would be pretty simple to do. And as long as you've got running water on your dock, I think you'll be in good shape. Bill, let's see what Herb was going to say there. BC, welcome. New. Should I look new? I meant, should I look new? Okay, New Jersey, used. Budget's 30 to 50. To say I should look to buy new and spend the extra money to avoid buying risks. To say, should I look to buy new and spend the extra money to avoid? Okay, yeah, this is also a thought that's been as I'm researching and putting together my market update. Is there are going to be some lightly used new boats coming out, 2020, 21s, 22s, 23s, that are going to be coming available. If you look at the research, the number I saw was about 30% of the buyers were first-time boat buyers during the pandemic. Okay, normally that number is about 22 to 25%, kind of fluctuates around there. but 30% were first-time boat buyers on the new side. Okay, so that's on the new side. Another number to know is that over 5 years' time, first-time boat buyers, we lose about half of them. Let me make sure that's correct, because as I was getting ready to say it, how many first-time boat buyers stay in boating longer than 5 years? I just heard this number, 42%. Okay, so this is from the MRAA, the Marine Retailers Association of the Americas. It's basically the organization of dealers, retail boat dealers are in this group. So if you look, percentage of all new pre-owned power boats purchased by first-time boat buyers, 34%. That includes used. So the new number is the one that I'm most concerned with, and that number was about 30%. So let's say 35%, and then, but the issue is the second chart. First-time boat buyers, 42% after 5 years. They leave boating. Now, they leave boating for a number of reasons. One, they never got trained on how to run their boat. That's why we created Best Boat Captain. They bought the wrong boat. That's why we have the channel, right? All the information on the channel. They realized they just didn't have time. It was more expensive than what they thought it was going to be, and they leave boating. That's why we have the boat buyers, the calculator, cost of ownership calculator. They get transferred, they move, their financial situation changed, whatever the reason, but 42% of those buyers leave boating. What that means to you is that there's going to be a bunch more used boats hitting the market, because if you look, the average was running in the 30%. And again, this is new and used. The new number goes down to about 22 to 25% on new. So there's about 10% more of the buyers were first-time buyers, which means that they're more likely to have these boats come on the market. So my point with saying that is, I think that there's going to be some opportunities for some 2020, 2021, 2022, even 2023 used boats that are going to be coming on the market in the next year. That will be great opportunity, that they're taking that big hit. Now, whether they're happy about it, whether they'll let the boat go is another story. One of the things I want to do in my research is talk to the lender group, the National Marine Lender Association, about where repo numbers stand, because our people that want to sell their boat that bought here and now it's valued at here, that depreciation was 40%, that from where they bought it from at the peak in the pandemic, now it's 40% lower. Are those people just going to walk away and say, that's fine, come take the boat, I'm out? Or are they going to eat it? Are they going to keep it longer? But I think the opportunity will be there for some nice, clean, low-hour used boats on the market, even more so than what there is in normal times. There's always going to be a percentage of them that come back on the market after a couple of years. But because the first-time boat buyers were higher, I think we'll see a few more of those. Okay. And like I said, I don't think the pandemic issues, most of them, there's probably some, but I don't think most of the pandemic issues are major issues. I think there were little ticky-tacky things that were easy to find, easy to fix, and once they're fixed, you won't see them again. So, the XO is the outboard, the Express is the IO. So, if you look at, let's see here. '26 Express, 28 Express. So we'll pull up both of these here. in my mind, they were slightly different boats, but let me see if that is the case or not. All right, I got some noises happening on my machine. I don't know what they are. All right, well, we'll just ignore them. So if we look at, I don't want that. I just want to look at the boat. I want to look at the back of the boat. Why? I understand why they do it, but it's kind of annoying. I'm looking for a 28 Express that is not Pop Yachts, because Pop Yachts is going to make you sign in. Pop Yachts, Express Pop Yachts, Pop Yachts, Pop Yachts, Pop Yachts. Regal. Oh my God, Pop Yachts again. They do an awesome job with their search engine optimization. I'll give them that. The guy that owns Pop Yachts is a very technical guy. I met him a long time ago, but all right, there we go. Irwin. Oh, that one's Pop Yachts too. Yeah. So if I'm looking at this right, the XO is a slightly different boat than the Express. And if I don't know what the difference is in interior space. I'd have to dive a little deeper. You can't sleep? All right, come say hi. This one is thrown off. She took a long nap today, but has school bright and early in the morning. You know, say hello. All right, give me a hug and a kiss. I will come in and check on you a little bit, okay? Hey, how about you take my jacket off? Or is that helping you? See if one of the dogs wants to snuggle with you, okay? See if you can get Molly. So, I would have to dive into the models a little bit more, but comparable, I would say comparable boating lifestyle. And it's just a matter of, are you going to be okay with the stern drive? Resale is going to be less on the stern drive versus the outboard, would be my opinion, which might be something to take into consideration. I don't know what the pricing difference is. The 2020, that's a 2015. That's not really comparable. So I'd have to dive into that a little bit more, Bill. Let me get to a couple more questions, and but I will try to jump in there as well. All right, I'm going to close down a bunch of my stuff here to try to keep the obvious. Bill, I run a twin stern drive and salt, doable, lots of work. Lift helps for sure, but even the closed cool, pump salt water in the exhaust, heat exchanger, power steering, cooler. Yep. Yeah, there is salt running through the system. It's just not running through the manifold, I think is the word I'm looking for. Flush with salt away every time. Drives in the water, the bathing in salt, electrolysis outboards make sense. Cost more. Yeah, that's Herb. That's the thing, is that swim platform and as a freshwater guy, the swim platform is something I love. I mean, we'll have three of us sitting out at the sandbar at the cove, and just that's where everybody gathers and hangs out. And it's nice, and you lose that with the outboard. Although manufacturers are getting creative to overcome that, but it's still something that you think about the lifestyle. And again, because of that, the resale is going to be better on the outboard. But again, they start higher up as well. Yeah, cheaper used. Yeah, and that's the same thing. So when you go to sell it, that discount is going to be there on the stern drives. Great insight. Good. Glad that was helpful for you. just things to think through. I tend not to give answers like this is what you should do, because there's validity to both sides. I just want you to think about as much as possible. Last thought, Bill, getting shallow areas is tougher. Oh yeah. So you'll always have some of that stern drive that is gonna be in the water, where that outboard you can tilt all the way out. If you're at a sandbar or something like that, you're pulled up. Still the same, didn't change. Better. Okay, now that's all right. All right. Sorry guys. It's my new camera. I brought a new like HD camera so you guys can see this thing nice and pretty. But I don't know why it was the mic that's built into it was off. Took the kids out fishing in the river next week. Tournament starting a few. Totally forgot about the time change. That's good. They're probably like, Dad, it's dark out. Why are we going so early? About a month, the restaurants will be operating here, Cumberland, doing on Saturdays. Yes, it is. It's getting there. It is getting there. I was this weekend. I had an inboard lined up to do the filming on the single engine inboard, the wake boat version of Best Boat Captain. Had it all lined up. The weather was going to be decent this weekend. Turns out my oldest daughter had a dance competition that I forgot about. But I was hoping to get on the water for 10 hours filming. Just didn't work. But hopefully next week and hopefully the weather will be as nice as it was today. Fish normalized this week before the tournament. The rain has them all messed up. Got around 3 inches. Or wow, that we had a decent amount of rain here yesterday until probably about 3 o'clock or so. If for those that don't know, Brock is down in Charleston. I am just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. So they're about 3.5 hours away. But hopefully the kids caught something. How do you feel about installing a hydro guard stabilizer and prop guard on my 86 Evinrude? Well, Beth, I think we answered this for you last week. It seems like this is the exact same question that we had last week, and but we'll do it real quick. But I spent a good while on this hydro guard. So I don't like them. I'll start with that. I think that the value of avoiding damage to the prop, I think, is way overstated. I think your skeg is gonna take the brunt of most anything, and if it was gonna break, it's gonna break with that on it, with the guard on it. Might even break easier because now you've drilled through that skeg and you've weakened it, right? The propeller protection, I don't know. That's what the skeg is for. The peace of mind of hitting animals, maybe to me, that's a marketing message that is not they haven't driven by a manatee and hit it with that guard on it and it didn't hit the animal. Like they just haven't done that. So the performance is the only thing that, and let's see here. There we go. The performance is the only reason why maybe, but here's the problem with it is it creates more drag. It creates more drag for that motor because it's a little bit wider on the skeg. It's more running through the water. Now, I haven't run one to know if that hydrofoil fin technology is really going to make an impact. If the boat's balanced properly, it shouldn't need it at all. Now, assuming that, I don't know what boat this is on, but assuming that it is on a boat that's not balanced right and it's underpowered, then maybe. But I think the negatives of the drag, to me, I wouldn't put one on my boat. If I had an 86 Evinrude, I wouldn't put it on mine. that's where I'm going to end it, because I did this whole spiel last week. So you can go back and listen to more detail on that if you want. Let's see. We've got questions stacking up. That's why I'm kind of moving on. Brock, the fishing's been in the crapper for almost a year here. It wasn't what it usually is. Rinker boats any good, specifically a 232 Captiva? Yeah, Rinkers are a good, solid mid-tier boat, El Rivera. Captiva, Rinker, obviously not in production anymore. They stopped production in 2019. Is that when they stopped? It seems about right to me. But yeah, it's a good, solid mid-tier boat. Not knowing, let's see if we can figure out when they stopped production here. Not knowing what was it used? Let's just go with Rinker. It's more about 2017, so maybe that was it. It's more about 2018, 2019. Okay, so I was right. 2019, they stopped building them. But here's the deal: is it's all about the condition of the 232 Captiva that you're looking at, because at best the boat is 6 years old, 5-6 years old. Likely it's older than that. 2000. I just saw that pop in. So the boat's 20 plus years old. If there's an issue with the boat, it's going to show itself, right? So what you need to do is tap the transom, tap all around the hull. Is there any damage? And when I say tap, get your big old trusty screwdriver, which you should take to any boat you look at. You can crack the gear casing to get a little oil, see if it's dirty and gross, see if there's any metal shavings on the plug, which is magnetized, should be magnetized. Tell you about that. But you can also use this and you're going to tap the hull. You're listening for a nice sound and not a dull, like that's dull. That's the sound that you kind of want to hear. That's going to tell you that it's nice and solid, that the lamination is still nice and tight together, that there's no water intrusion, there's no rot. So you want to tap all around. Anywhere there's a through hull fitting, you want to tap that, especially all around the housing, all around the, just tap up and down the hull under the boat, make sure they didn't run into ground. Then your engine, you got to check the, probably got a Mer Cruiser in it. Check the compression, check the fluids, run it on a test drive, run it through all the RPM ranges, and just do your regular checkup. But yeah, it's a mid-tier boat, but more importantly is the condition of the 2000 232 Captiva that you're looking at. Get the toolkit if you haven't, boatbuyerstoolkit.com, totally free. Grab that. It'll walk you through the checklists. It will walk you through the how to demo it and make sure that you're on the right path. Pros were just on Lake Marion on Moultrie, slayed them, but the rain moved in. Keep waiting for all the COVID boats to hit the market. People thought it would be a good idea. The barrage of lately used boats didn't materialize. I bought new. Yeah, Dan, I agree. I just, there's going to be more on the market, but it's not going to be a flood. I mean, when you look at the market updates that I've done for the past 2 years, I don't remember when the last one or the first one that I did, but everybody was talking about this unprecedented number of boats that were being built, and the fact that, when the government took the subsidies away, that everybody was going to go bankrupt, and they were buying stuff they couldn't afford, and boats were going to be repoed, and they were going to be, just selling them for pennies on the dollar. Well, that never happened for a couple of reasons. Is because although there were a lot of boats sold, that number was only about 10% more than what it had been in the previous years. And we have sold over 300,000 new boats in a year back in, if I remember right, it was back in like 2013, maybe. Like we got close to that number. So, and we went from 250,000 to 300,000. I mean, that's a 20% increase, but that's from a low point, right? It wasn't like the line was like this and then the 2020, 2021 numbers way up here. The lines was going like this because it's a cyclical industry, and that peak was at the same peak as we've seen in other times of the history. So I think people, it's easy for people that don't know the market to make predictions, and they can come into the comments and they can say whatever they're going to say and say, this is what I think is going to happen. And, there's no repercussions for them to say anything. And they've done zero research, right? They've not looked at the numbers. They've got this opinion that's not based on anything. I think I'm going to stand. Well, I am standing by my prediction, right or wrong. I could be just as wrong as anybody, but I think I put more thought and more research into it than anybody else has either. I guarantee I put more research into it than there might be a few people within the industry that have a better grasp on what's happening. Some manufacturers probably do, but when it comes to the entire market, I got a pretty good handle on what's going on out there. And I don't see that crash and that barrage hitting the marketplace. But I do see seeing some really nice pre-owned boats on the market, and those, the depreciation going back to a normal level of depreciation where it should be. It's a depreciating asset. There's no question about it. So, all right, let's see what Luis G has. Bought my used Sundancer, first time buyer. They wanted to get out after a year or two, watch the vids, got a good deal. Yeah. And it's those boats are always there. If you look back at that, I think I might've closed that one down, but there we go. How many first-time boat buyers? I mean, when you go to this data, this is from June of 2020. When you go to this data, first-time boat buyers, 37% in 2010, 34% in 2020. So not even the highest percentage of first-time boat buyers. This 42%, this is a, let's see here. I'm not sure how far back, but this 42% number it's just been an industry standard that it's the industry. Part of it's the industry's fault in my name. One, they put new boats on the market that have issues. That some dealers are crappy dealers, right? So, unfortunately, the more entry-level first-time boats that you sell, I think Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, those type of brands, they've got smaller margins, so they can't afford to support the boaters like they should. So here's the keys, go have a great time on the water. They don't train them on how to use the boat. Well, I know firsthand because I've trained hundreds of boaters in person, and I've trained thousands of boaters through my Best Boat Captain program, because I know if you don't know how to run your boat, it's going to suck. You're going to put yourself in a dangerous situation. You're going to scare people on the boat. You're going to be swearing. You're going to have to be yelling and cussing. You're going to be more stressed than you would if you go through this program or get trained by a captain or get trained by the dealer. you're going to have a much more enjoyable lifestyle, and you're likely going to stay in boating for longer. If the dealer delivers a boat to you that's issue free, they do a great pre-delivery inspection. The manufacturers deliver a better boat to the dealer. Dealer delivers a better boat to the consumer. You're going to have less ticky-tacky stuff come up that's going to make them lose boating days. That a boat's got to be sent back to the dealer for 3 weeks to wait for the part to come in. And that industry issue is turning people away. And so let's say that's half. So that's 20% that could be fixed by, hey, manufacturers, buy my program and give it to everybody that buys a boat. Dealers, I'll set you up with that if you don't have time to do it, and you can do it cost effective. And then 20% are always, we didn't really like it. Our kids got involved in baseball. Oh, I lost my job. I can't afford it. Those are always going to happen, and there's always going to be a turnover. So it's not like any of this stuff is new. It's the way of the industry, and there's always going to be those opportunities. What you got to make sure is, like Luis did, is make sure that the person that you buy it from didn't do something really stupid before you got it. So they didn't run it dry for 10 minutes, not realizing that was a problem. They didn't forget to winterize it and it's got a cracked block. Just make sure you avoid those because that can be an issue. How low would you start offer for a used boat in today's market? For example, a boat on Boat Trader, 50,000. Would you start 10,000? Okay, Johnny. So I was just putting this together. I'm adding this to, we've got our first time boat buyer academy and magic money saving method. And I was just putting this together today. So yes, their starting point is a valuable data point, but especially on Boat Trader, especially on used, is if it's a private seller, I don't know if they know anything about what the value of their boat actually should be. So I don't want to give a percentage discount. Now, if it's a dealer, yeah, the dealer has set that price to be realistic. And you could probably use a percentage with the dealer. But here's what I would recommend. Number one is go to NADA Guides, which is now JD Powers, and I would build that boat out, base boat. If it's got a major accessory or option, I would include that. So a trailer, a wakeboard tower on a boat that traditionally doesn't have a wakeboard tower. So a Sea Ray 190 Sport. It's got a tower. I'm going to add that in. If it's a Nautique G23, well, they all got towers, so you don't get extra credit for it. Trolling motors, put that in, and then that's my value. That's the average retail. So average retail means that there's some that sold for more, there's some that sold for less. If it's saltwater, I'm automatically going to knock 10, 15% off of that average number. If it's in perfect shape, I'm going to add about 15%, maybe even 20% on the plus side. If it's in rough shape, I'm going to do the same, 10 to 15, maybe 20% off on the low side if it's not in great shape and it's saltwater, right? You're going to take that off. So I'm going to have that data point. Then I'm going to go to look and I'm going to say, okay, a 2,232 Captiva, and I'm going to go a year newer and a year older, and I'm going to search that boat on Boat Trader and just see what I can find. Where are they listed at? See what the numbers look like. And then from there, I'm going to make an offer that is super, super aggressive, but not offensive. And it's an art, not a science. It's not but 20% seems like if it's 40 or if it's 50 and I offer 40, assuming that 50 is a reasonable number, like to start with, and I offer 40, there's no way they're going to accept that. But I got my negotiation strategy as far away as I could without ending the conversation. Because what can happen is if you throw out 30, well, hey, jackass, you're an idiot. I'm not even going to call you back. I'm not even going to respond. But 40, they're like, I could probably get them up to 45 and I would take that. So you want to start as aggressive as you can without being offensive. And that's why you do that research, is so you can figure out like where it should be. And then when I reach out to them, I say, hey, listen, Bobby, Mr. Boat Owner, I researched, some of these boats are listed for, for 39,000. I looked at JD Powers, and the book on this, the average book on this is 42. I would give you, assuming everything checks out, I would give you 40. Now, this works best if you've already seen the boat, you've inspected it, you know what you're dealing with. Because if you're negotiating on a boat unseen, sight unseen, one, it's a waste of everybody's time, because if the boat's crap, who cares what deal you're going to get on it? It's got a cracked block. I wouldn't pay 20 for it. So most cases, I'm going to want to see it, but as aggressive as you can without being offensive. 20% is probably a good starting point, assuming that number is aggressive on the ask side, but reasonable. 10% might be the right number. So it kind of depends, but those would be the stages that I go through to figure out where I'm going to be. And I look at a year newer and a year older, because it gives me a bigger, remember, there's not very many boats built in a year of a particular model. So, let's look at that, the Regal 28 Express. If they built 500 of those in a year, I'd be shocked. If Regal built more than 528 Express cruisers last year, I would be really shocked. That number is probably significantly less. So if you go out next year, 2 years, 3 years, there's only going to be a handful of those. So you've got to open up the data points so that you can get more information and then kind of judge accordingly. And then, make sure you account for the equipment that's extra, but don't double count. If it's got a canvas cover and most boats have a canvas cover, then don't build it into the NADA value, because it's double counting. It's already included in the average. You don't get extra credit for it because it's already in there. That makes sense. So hopefully, Johnny, that's helpful for you. And again, that's in our paid program, the Magic Money Saving Method that I'm adding to it. How many of those newer used boats that are coming on the market, getting out of boating, are on the higher end models? My guess is probably not many. That market sees boats come on the market for a different reason. Some of them are first time buyers, but I use my father-in-law as an example of this, but never owned a boat before. He buys the best of the best when he buys something. He has the pocketbook to do so. And so he bought brand new Cobalt, best thing they had. Now, for some of those are first time buyers, and some of them get into boating and realize they don't like it, whatever. Most of it's not a financial decision. On the premium end, it's we really don't use it. Those boats they usually keep for like 3 years because they don't use it, but it's sitting at the lake house, or it's sitting in the dry storage rack, and they don't really think about it. They paid cash for it, so they're not reminded of it with the monthly check. Just every year they get reminded of it when their storage comes due. And the first year they're happy. The second year they're like, we didn't use it much, but we'll try to get out more this year. They pay it. And then that third year it comes around and they're like, you know what, this is dumb. We haven't used the boat. We didn't use the boat but twice last year. Maybe we should sell it. And then you'll see those come on the market. Whereas, the Bayliners, the Trackers, some of the value brands are going to be, they're more geared towards that younger first-time boat buyer. And those you'll see kind of come on the market because of that first-time boat buyer churn that we see in the industry, that 42% that's on the screen there. And, but you see both. It's just for different reasons. Typically, the higher end stuff you see because they just aren't using it. They just aren't using it, and it's eventually they get tired of paying the insurance, and the storage is usually the one that gets them that $3,000 to $7,000 storage bill a year, and they're like, yeah, whatever. But if they live on the water, they don't care. They got the dock. They leave it under there. They might use it twice a year, but as long as they live on the water, they want a boat and they're going to keep it. Let's see here. Where are we at? Oh shoot, we're at an hour. That's good. All right. Used 87 pump gas for the last 16 years, 350 mag. Thoughts on ethanol free, considering 350. Okay. So I've done a video on this, and there's a video that's even better. Whoa, Nelly, that's not what I want. Ethanol. Why ethanol boats? Why ethanol? Why you should run ethanol in your boat? That's the, anyway. This is the video. I don't know why this one's still out there. It shouldn't be, but this is the podcast version, which is just audio. You don't get to see the pretty slides that I put together, but anyway, that's the video that you want to check out. And I'm going to say use ethanol or use straight 100% gasoline. And Dan, here's why. So the negative part of ethanol is it's the combination of ethanol and the environment we operate in and the way gas gets used. Okay. So because ethanol it's called hydroscopic, I think it attracts water. Okay. That's the big thing with ethanol. There's another issue too that I'll talk about, but because it attracts water, the longer that sits in a humid environment where most boats are stored, either on a lift, in a storage area near the water, it has a higher level of humidity in the air. And because boat fuel systems are open, they're not closed, they are open to the environment. Now, there may be some filters in the middle, but they all are vented, not like your car, which has that little cap on it that when you undo it, it goes because it's letting out the pressure. That's a closed system in your car. In a boat, it's open and it's vented. Now, they've made changes to this. So the new systems have, they aren't as directly open as some of the older systems. And I don't know when the ABYC made these changes, but it's been a while. But because it's open to the environment, it can suck in that moisture, and now you get water in your fuel, which is not good. Okay, that's issue number one. Issue number two is that ethanol it can eat the inside of your fuel system. Okay, so it's really, really hard on the rubber. And if it's a cheaper rubber, I don't know what you were running on that Merc 350, that 350 mag, but it is more common with outboards where they use some of the manufacturers use a cheaper fuel hose that has a little plastic. I don't have any. I don't think I should get some, but it's got a little plastic. I don't even know, membrane on the inside of it. And that ethanol, when it sits for a while, will kind of dissolve that. And then you'll get little flakes of plastic, and it messes up the fuel. If it sits long enough, and it's the time, because in boating, you don't burn a tank of fuel like you do in your car. So I work from home, but I still, every 2 weeks, I need to fill my truck up. So that ethanol is always being turned over, and I'm getting fresh, so that water doesn't have time to accumulate. It's not just sitting in my fuel system for periods of time. It's always being run through. Whereas your boat, you may have a full tank of fuel, the same tank of fuel for a month, 2 months. During the off season, 6 months it sits there. So it's just sitting in the fuel line. It's just sitting in the carburetor. If you got a carburetor, it's just sitting in the fuel injectors, and it's causing all those problems. It's just sitting there sucking in moisture from the environment. For all of those reasons, it's better to use straight gasoline. That's why every manufacturer recommends straight gasoline. The best, so this video talks through it. Should you run ethanol? Why ethanol sucks, I think, is the right one. But if you really want to dive deeper, Born Again Boating. This is Aaron at Born Again Boating. And what fuel do you put in your boat? This is a really, really interesting video because he walks you through it from a standpoint. So he's way more knowledgeable about the engine stuff. Technicians Tuesday is the name of the video series that this fell under. But he actually set a jar of ethanol and a jar of 100% gasoline out in the environment, had a fan running across it to try to accelerate the time factor, right? And to see what happens to those fuels over the course of his video is really, really interesting. And I think that will make it perfectly clear that straight gasoline is the best choice. Now, if you're in California, you ain't got a choice, and you got to make do with what you can. And so then you try to run your fuel through the system as frequently as you can. You use some of the ethanol fuel additives, which the best that, as far as my research has shown, is sitting right here. And that is the Stable Marine 360. If you're going to treat your fuel, this has been shown to be the best alternative. Some of the others, Seafoam specifically jumps out, have been again, when I say research, I mean I'm going to other YouTubers that are smarter than me in certain areas, but best fuel treatment for engines. Let me see if I can find. There was a really great video of, maybe it was this one here. No. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but if I do, let's see. There's a small engine repair shop that did this video, which was incredible. They rigged up like 10 or 15, maybe more, lawnmower engines, the exact same Briggs and Stratton engine, and they filled them all up with ethanol, and then they put in the different fuel additives. So the Marine 360, Seafoam, the Lucas brand, all the different ones, the Marvel's Magic Oil or whatever that one's called. And what they did is, for a year, or no, it was 6 months. What they did is every month they would come out and they would start them up. They'd put the fuel in, put the additive in, ran them, and then they would shut them down. They would wait a month. They came back out and they started them again. And slowly but surely, on the same exact engine, you would see, well, this one sputtered and sputtered and sputtered. Then it started. This one started right up. This one didn't start at all. They couldn't get it to go. And it was really interesting. And the Marine 360 was the only one that at the 6 month mark fired right up. Now it's not just the Stable, it's the 360 Marine. This one specifically was the one that came out the winner. So I was like, okay, that gives me a real good data point, unbiased. I assume unbiased. These guys were characters. They didn't seem like they were doing it as a product placement. And but it's a small engine repair shop that has a channel, and I wish I could find it, because it was a great video, and just great guys. I really liked them. So if I find it, I'll try to tag it, throw it out on Facebook or something. So anyway, I can't find it. I can't count. Camera looks good. Audio suspect. We love to drive our boat in the shallow water directly to the beach. Like to adjust some sand with it. Suck that sand up in there. What's the worst that could happen? Oh yeah, this is my I got all sorts of just weird crap around my office. This is my impeller that like when somebody asks, do I my impeller's 3 or 4 years old. Do I need to change it? I'm like, yeah, you should. But if you don't, what happens? Well, this happens. And these little pieces get broken up. You know, little pieces like this get into your system, which is not good. And should I use I could find the cheap one on Amazon. Should I just get that? It's $5 cheaper. No, get the expensive one. Get the OEM one, because those cheap ones are known to break up very quickly, like within a couple of uses, and then you got to do it all over again. But yeah, sucking up some sand in your intakes, that'll cause you to change your impeller a little quicker. I used to love stern drives for all the reasons you mentioned, but there's something about the outboards that really are cool. There is the acceleration. So take out that they don't have the torque that the old 2-strokes did that everybody loves, and the smell, but the acceleration of a 400 Merc on your pontoon, when you're just sitting there and you got the digital throttle, so it's so smooth, and you're just sitting there idling, you go forward a little bit and you just put the hammer down, and that boat, because pontoons don't bow up much at all, that thing just goes, and you're up to 40 in a heartbeat. And I love that, which you don't get that with a stern drive. Part of it because the boat style is different, but the acceleration, getting up to speed with those outboards is, and the quietness of it is super, super nice. And yeah, when it's a 400 on your 25-foot pontoon, that's especially fun. Settled on the Regal for the power arch. Feasible to modify the arch on something like a Sundancer. I think it would be very difficult. 280 2024 23. One images. I don't think the SLX. The older models, I'm not sure why I'm not seeing a newer one, but the older models, like if we look at this 03, they're fixed. They're a permanent structure, and there's no hinge. And I don't think that the newer ones are built that way either. That's a 2012. C-Ray. But I'm going to say it would be expensive, if not impossible, to do it. Oh, that's why I forgot. They don't do the 280 anymore. 320 is their smallest. Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it's a structural piece. That 320's got a hard top even, but let's see, a 2018 C-Ray. Sea Ray 280 Dancer. Yeah, I mean, looking at this 2017, that it's fully integrated, and it's not going to be feasible. It's not going to be feasible to do it. Let's see if we can get they got a close up. Yeah, so it's a separate molded piece, but there is no hinge. So there's really not even a good place to hinge, because if you look at that angle is up. Yeah. So if you look right there, it's attached. I don't know exactly how they're attaching it, but I can tell you it's not going to be easy to attach, and you're not going to be able to fit a motor in there somewhere. I wouldn't think. So yeah, if that power arch is valuable for you, I don't think the Sea Ray is something I would consider. So, all right, first time buyers in the COVID boat, something to think about. How many wrecked maintenance property? Yes, 100%. That's any first time boat buyer boat is. That boat's probably had a rougher time of it. Now, it doesn't mean don't buy it by any means. It means slow down, be careful, check it out, ask some questions, ask for service records. Did they know that they were supposed to change the oil at some point? And the boat's 3 years old, never had any service done to it. Well, it could be problematic. It might be okay, but it likely has shortened the lifespan of that engine. Yeah, very, very good thing to think about. My Jason 211, I go into every used boat assuming that they didn't maintain it right and trying to prove otherwise. That's the way I approach when I'm looking at it. Is I know that they didn't change their oil. I know they didn't change their gear lube until I see service records, or until I crack that gear case and see good clean fluid in there with no metal shavings, pull out the dipstick and see nice clean oil in there that's not black and smelly and chocolate milky foamy that water's gotten in. And so I'm really wanting to prove those things to be true, assuming that they've got it wrong. Good movie for the kids, Dune Part 2. Like sci-fi. I'm not sure my girls will see. I don't know if they even know what Dune is, but I've heard good things. By summer 25, I'm hoping to have my boat shop open, ready for business. That's awesome, man. It has been, for those of you that don't know, Bo is Saint, and he's the one that made a portion of my intro video, that really cool logo where it's kind of flickering in. Bo made that for me, maybe 2 years ago. At least over a year ago. And he was going through tech school at Marine Mechanics Institute, I think is still finishing up, but has a job waiting for him, and has really progressed through to becoming a technician, and an awesome resource to have on in the community, kind of like a lot of folks that have been with us for a long time, sharing their expertise. So that's awesome, man. Very cool. Johnny, you're welcome. I use Aspen for winter storage. I don't know that one. I don't think they did Aspen fuel treatment. Aspen 4, alkalite petrol for 4 strokes. Can be used whole array of different 4 strokes, including lawnmowers, snowmobiles, snow blowers. Yeah, all of those small engine lawnmowers, snow blowers, snowmobiles, ATVs, those things that that just get used seasonally all have that ethanol issue with them for sure. So I'll check that one out. I've not heard of that one. Suggestions using on ethanol. Great suggestion on the ethanol video. I'm up on Norman. So plenty of moisture in the air here. Yeah, for sure. Especially after yesterday with that just downpours and then just hazy, misty rain. So Dan, I'm down just south of Ballantyne. So in the Charlotte area. Up on Lake Norman a good amount in the warmer weather. Run the Startron additive in my boat, even though I put 90 rig, it helps stabilize the gas. Center console doesn't get nearly as much as the bass boat. Yeah, that time, that fuel sitting, even 100% gasoline breaks down over time. The time and fuel is a bad combination. So making sure that, and fuel issues are one of the biggest problems with boat engines. I don't know what a percentage is, but my gut tells me as a technician, if an engine's not running right, if it's not clearly obvious at first, like fuel is probably the first thing they're checking fuel filters, fuel water separators, fuel quality, running it on their own source, right? To see if that's the problem. And it is a bunch. So I think you've mentioned Startron before. I don't know, but I'm going to Startron. All right. I'm fading here. I don't know why. Star Bright. Interesting. Startron. So it looks like stabilizer, fuel storage are just the enzyme treatment. Let me know which of these do you use, Brock? Do you use the blue or the orange? I'm curious. The fuel stabilizer plus fuel storage. Oh my God, why is there a gun showing up on that one? That's interesting. Home Depot is selling weapons now. I didn't know. That's curious. Just the enzyme treatment. Carol fixes all. BC, you might be the one that shared with that last time. I did the same thing last time, but I don't know why I'm not subscribed. That was him. I don't know how to spell additive. Do fuel additives even work? Let's see which ones don't. Yeah, this video, you guys all need to go watch this video. This guy he's got 272,000 subscribers. This video this is the one that you need to go watch. You see, he's got all of these. But he's got all of these engines just mounted with and they pour out the fuel and they just have it sitting there so you can look at it. It's a great video. Do fuel additives even work? Let's see which ones don't. So check that out. And I highly encourage that channel. They're characters. Used the Marine 6 to fire my boat briefly. Taking service, didn't crank hard. Yeah, fired right up. That's the experience that these guys had. And again, assuming that they're not sponsored or anything, it wasn't marked as sponsored. That and they the way they talked about it, it's likely not. Would you still use stable to manage moisture, even though always ethanol free? It depends on how often you run your boat. Like Brock said, his bass boat, he runs that weekly, and he's running it hard, probably running, I don't know, a full tank of fuel, but within 2 fishing tournaments, I'm certain he's refueling, if not running almost a full tank every tournament. But if I'm running a tank, I'll put it at a month. So if I'm running a tank a month, I'm probably feel pretty good about that. If I'm not running a tank a month, yeah, it's 15-20 bucks. This is going to treat I don't know what the ratio is, but let's say this is going to treat a tank of fuel, 50 gallons probably, for 20 bucks. That's pretty good insurance to keep your boat running good. And so yeah, if I'm not running a tank out every month, I'm probably putting it in there. If I'm running it, every 3 weeks, I'm filling up 100% gasoline, I probably won't worry about it. But the longer it goes, the more likely I am to treat it. Reset the maintenance on the boat I just bought. Yes, I agree. Well, first thing, couple of my buddies bought some used boats last year, 2 years ago. I was like, listen, just get the oil, gear lube, impeller, fuel water separator, fuel filter. Just get all that stuff done and start fresh. And I think one of the batteries, I'm like, yeah, put new batteries in if they're even close, and that way you're not stranded out with your family, and you're going to be in good shape. I think that's wise with any used boat purchase, is just to get it done. You're starting with a clean slate. You're not running dirty oil, broken down gear lube that's been scorched or something, impeller that could go out on you at any time, and the engine start running hot. You get stranded. Batteries that aren't going to crank if you stay at the sandbar running the stereo a little long. Get all that stuff going. Just figure it into the cost of getting into boating, and your first season will be that much easier for sure. I've seen fuel start to break down chemically, destabilize less than 4 weeks. Fuel stabilizer must also impeller change every 2 years, regardless of hours. Yeah, cheap insurance, 100%, Rod, for sure. Aspen's the ethanol-free fuel. Okay, $10 a liter. Okay. How you guys know that I'm not the smartest guy. How many liters in a gallon? Almost 4 liters to a gallon. Okay. I was just curious what the $10 a liter. That PC that you run a smaller horsepower pontoon, I think. Which is more feasible. Like, that's going to get expensive, but it also is going to keep that thing running good for a long time. So if you're trying to get another couple years out of a boat that you don't run a ton, that's a great fuel. Is a good start. I use the blue. Okay, use the blue, just the enzyme treatment. My dad uses it all the time in the boat. Keep the gas fresh longer. Then you don't burn through a tank fast enough. Run a good 20 gallons a week. Practice it everywhere. 25 to 40 on the tournament day. Just depends on how the fish are biting. Yeah. Are you heading to the next spot? I had a feeling that you filled that baby up quite a bit. A tank a month. I really need to slow down this season. That is, hey, listen. If you enjoy getting out there and ripping around, get out there and do it, man. That's funny. My boat has a 110-gallon tank, 50 to 75, got a weekend, stable winterized, always use 80 pump, 10% ethanol, never max out, had problems. There's, especially if you're on a trailer, it can be tough in some areas to find that 100% gasoline. Like I said, California, can't find it. But definitely take precautions because it is an important factor. Would run 2 tanks a weekend sometimes. There, it's I don't know why. It's funny. So my new book, Boat Buyer's Secret Weapon, I basically just took a lot of the information from the YouTube channel and put it in book format. But I dedicated the book to my parents for buying our first boat, turning our family into a boating family. I said, Dad, thanks for hustling at work to get home, take the boat out 4 or 5 o'clock. My dad, it's always had his own business, but in the summertime, and he would usually work till 7, 8 o'clock at night. That was just the norm. But in the summertime, like on just random Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he would bust through his work, schedule his appointments early in the morning, and he would try to get home like 4, 5 o'clock. And my brother and I would have the boat hooked up to the van, have everything ready to go, so he could just change out of his work clothes, get his trunks on, and we would be to the lake by 5:30, 6 o'clock. We would ski till 9, but we would ski and ski and ski and ski all night long, all day long. So you could drive the boat all evening, so it's could ski and ski and ski some more. Oh, and thanks for never complaining about the gas we must have burned. It's something that as a kid, I didn't dawn on me that it cost a lot more money to ski than just to sit at anchor at the cove and just hang out. And there were times where, all right, you got to grab there wasn't a fuel pump on one of the lakes that we boated on, and so you would fill the boat up with the jugs and or just run it until the boat was almost empty, and that's when the day was done. But yeah, it's amazing. As a kid, you have zero perspective of what's really going on. All you know is that, hey, you're having fun, and you should be able to ski as much as you want. So that was my dedication to my parents for not complaining and not making us even realize how expensive it was for us to do that, even at times where money was a little bit tight in different seasons of my life growing up. So anyway, 150 Mariner outboard, 18-foot Invader. Yeah, that is so. That's really interesting. Or do you just run that BC, like you just run that towards the end of the season, and so that's what you leave in the tank and in the fuel system in the off season, or do you run that all the time? That's interesting. Pump 3 something a gallon, Rec 90, $6 a gallon, avoidable, but outrageous in price. Yeah. Yeah, and whether you get it on the water or you get it off the pump, 87's been around $2.80 a gallon. 90 Rec is $4.09, over $5 at the docks. Yeah, there's definitely the markup for being on the water. I know it's pricey. I use the Valtech treated fuel at the marina. I can't have 50 gallons of fuel up. Yeah, it is. There's, you pay for convenience, you pay for, and even if you're putting in the cheaper stuff, this adds to the cost as well. Valtech's got it built in. What is BC using? The Aspen, it's got it built in and it's made specifically for it. So there's something to be said for, you're going to pay for it one way or another. And it's just a matter of where's it going to hit you every time at the pump, every time with your additive, or in maintenance. Some way or another, you're going to pay for it. So interesting. So, all right, guys, we have been 1 hour and 30 minutes. This has been a fun one. This was a really good one. A lot of different questions, a lot of good conversations, a lot of new faces, which is fun for me to see it. I appreciate you guys. Yeah. Yeah, QT's pretty good about having even where I'm at, I'm 45 minutes from the lakes. around here, and we've got straight 100% gasoline at the QT, the Quick Trip pumps. If you don't have a Quick Trip, it's almost as good as Buc-ee's. Not quite to the Buc-ee level, but is fast, convenient, and friendly. So I did add a little extra stable winterizing. Maybe that did help for sure. For sure, it didn't hurt. That's the thing, is that it didn't hurt. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. Check out the free resources, the toolkit, the boot camp, best boat captain, all the versions, Trailer Electric Pro, Confident Coastal Boater, all that. Keep getting more 5-star reviews, which is awesome. I always appreciate those. Everything's got the money back guarantee if you buy anything from us. And the Boat Buyers Academy Magic Money Saving Method. I appreciate it. We'll see you all next week. Rob, good to see you. From one dad to another. I'm sure you know how much your father for sure. It didn't dawn on me until it's one of my favorite pictures. My daughter was probably 2, and we went to the ski show on Lake Wylie. We took out a 30-foot cruiser that we had. This is when I was selling boats. I could just take whatever boat we had, and I took out a 30-foot cruiser. It was a 28 amberjack. It's like the fishing version of the Sundancer. And my daughter jumped off the back of that boat, I bet 150 times. It was just jumping in my arms, jumping to me, climbing up the ladder, jumping again, climbing up the ladder, jumping again. And it was in that moment, this is why boating is so great, is, and there's thousands of those stories now that my girls are older that you just love. So for sure. Here 150 higher for the 90. See you guys. Oh, fog the motor too, for sure. If you've got a carbureted, that is 100% true. Kings of the City, good. Dan, good to have you. If you see me on Norman, say hey. Thank you guys. We'll see you all next week.